Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos.
This is our kickoff for season 2, technically, right?
Yeah, because I think when
Yeah.
we started with like the introduction, like who we are, and the Halloween episode the same day. Like we posted two that day.
Yeah, and so
Who are these people like talking about weird real
right,
estate
right.
stories? But yeah,
Ah,
season two.
I can't. Girl, we did it.
We need a theme song.
We do. We need would it be Destiny's Child? I'm a Survivor.
Uh, or
um,
the Friends theme song, I think.
yeah, I like
I
that
like
one.
that one.
I actually that yeah. Now that I think about what their theme
Mhm,
song is,
mhm.
yeah,
I think
that's our
that's a
theme
good one.
song.
Yeah, the
Um,
Friends theme song.
if you're listening to this and you work in like music licensing, we're not gonna get in trouble for that, right? As long as we
Right.
don't use the song
Yeah,
without
we're
paying
just
for
like,
it. We just mentioned it.
yeah.
Wait, don't sing it. We can get in
Oh,
trouble for singing it.
it was 3 notes. I don't think it's
I
gonna be
know,
that
but
bad.
still, God for like we do not want that fine.
No, our
I know
podcast don't make enough money to pay a fine yet.
our podcasts don't make any money. um,
This is just a passion project, honestly.
right. So far this is costing us money.
Oh gosh.
Okay. All
Alright,
right.
well,
So,
Spooky Stories season 2.
hey, wait, are we not on a delay this week?
I hope not. It doesn't seem
I
like
don't
it.
think we are.
That'd be nice. Maybe
Yay!
all of Hurricane Helene has gone away
Shaking things
and
loose and put them back where they belong.
yeah. That'd be
All
nice.
right. So, if you've been listening to this chit chat for the last
2
2
minutes.
minutes, this is officially kickoff to season 2 of Contracts and Chaos. And we thought we would bring it back to where we started. And I think we might make this an annual episode. We are talking about spooky stories, and they don't have to be like actually physically scary, but scary things that have come up in our business this year. Um,
Yes.
and make sure you listen to the end because Brenna has the most terrifying one. Like
That's the
literally physically, I would have called the cops, have my gun in my hand. Terrifying story. Um, yeah.
My husband was so mad at me that day. Like,
Yeah.
"Would you just shut up and let me tell this cool story?" Oh, well. Alright, so you kick us off because 'cause we're gonna
Okay.
start off with these, like, transactional, like,
Right.
nightmare
Nightmares.
things.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm currently living this nightmare, and
Mm.
it is quite literally waking me up at night.
Oh, no.
Literally, like I'm waking up going, okay. So I have clients. It's a VA loan, and they went through a big box lender, which is fine. They were approved with her. They've closed deals with her before they met me. And 5 days before closing, right? Yeah, like 5 days before closing, she called me. It was the Friday of Hurricane Helene.
Oh, good, good.
So the world here, if you're not familiar, the
Was
world in the
already ending.
Carolinas
Yeah.
literally fell apart. Like towns disappeared, literally washed away.
Mhm.
Um, my best friend was having a family emergency that I was trying to walk through with her. And so I was at the grocery store, which was a madhouse because of a hurricane, trying to get stuff to make dinner for her family that night and like comfort food like macaroni and pulled pork.
Yum.
And the lender calls and I'm thinking, awesome, it's the Friday before closing. We're closing on it was either Wednesday or Thursday the next week. Sweet. She's gonna tell me we've got the clear to close. I don't have to worry about anything for the next 5 days. We're
Mhm.
good. I can just focus on my best friend, focus on hurricane recovery, and the other transactions I have working, but everything else in life was on hold at that point because of the hurricane.
Mhm.
And she calls and tells me, sorry, your loan's been denied. And I went, what? Hold on, they're selling their house. Like we're selling and buying. And she said, "Yep, I don't really understand why." She's like, "Everyone I've spoken to says, nope, there shouldn't be an issue with this. This should be fine. But final underwriting or whoever's kicking it back." Now, mind you, we had them put it through an underwriting before we wrote an offer
Right.
because I refused. I was like, no, like they're buying the most expensive house they've ever bought.
Yeah.
I was like, my biggest fear as an agent is people calling me in 6 months saying, "Oh my god, we made a mistake and now we have to sell because we
Now
can't
we
afford
can't
it."
afford it, right.
So I had her push it through every checkpoint she could before we wrote this offer, and we were told we were fine, nothing would be an issue. They denied it, wouldn't even reconsider, and I just kinda went, "Okay, okay." So she called the clients and told them. In the meantime, I reached out. Real has an internal, mortgage company. Thank God.
Did you talk to Thomas?
No, I spoke to Alyssa.
Oh, even
Uh,
better. It was gonna work out way
right?
better working with an
Obviously.
Alyssa.
So, Alyssa tends to specialize in, VA loans, like, those
Okay.
are her bread and butter. She knows the rules inside out, backwards. She corrects underwriting on things and is like, "Nope, here's the rule,
Mhm,
fix it." And so sent it to her, sent them to a couple other people to be like, "You need to pick who you are comfortable with."
mhm.
I
And
think
who's gonna
Alyssa's
make this happen for you?
right.
Yeah.
I think if we're sticking with VA, I think Alyssa is the person we need to go with. Here's why. If you need creative financing, here's a lender who can get that done. Um, and knock on wood, we are supposed to close this Friday. Today's Tuesday, guys. We record on Tuesdays. I haven't checked in with her yet today because it's only 9:45 and I'm trying not to be overzealous about this.
Do we have the clear close? Do we
Oh,
have
we
it?
don't because you know what got added on? So right now we think we're good with underwriting.
Okay,
It's still in review.
okay.
Um, but we got added to the hurricane list. We're on the disaster list.
Oh my god.
So if you're unfamiliar with what happens when like a hurricane or tornadoes come through your
Mm.
area, with any government-backed loan,
You have to
they can
reinspect and
deem certain
reappraise.
certain areas a disaster area.
Yep.
And which means the appraiser has to come back out and make sure the house is still in good condition. We've been told he just needs to do a drive, but I shouldn't say he, they. It was a he who did the original one. Usually
Mhm.
they send the same appraiser. So he needs to just drive by, make sure there's nothing broken in the house. It was assigned last week.
Mhm.
But to put into perspective, guys, this hurricane crossed Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida
Mhm.
with disaster areas.
Yeah. No,
So
it was a
every
big one.
VA, FHA backed loan
Is
now has
having
to
to
be
redo that.
redone, as well as all of the new loans need appraisals.
Mhm.
Sorry, guys, Roxanne was tangled in the microphone cords. Um, so that makes the list that's already long
Yeah.
this much longer
Yeah.
because he now has to double back. So he has yet to schedule it. It's Tuesday. We're supposed to close Friday. They're currently living in an Airbnb, and
Yeah,
I
because
leave
they
Monday
sold
for
their
Vegas.
house.
They sold their house. It's gone.
Mm.
And that was a whole thing because the buyer there was like, this wasn't done and this wasn't done. We were like, yes, it was. Here's the receipts.
Mhm.
Well, nope, no, it's done. There
Oh
was one
my
thing,
gosh.
the bathtub quit working for some reason, and no one knew because they didn't use the bathtub. It worked at the time of showing, it worked at the time of inspection,
Mhm.
and he happened to check it during his final walkthrough, and there was no hot water. So we did have to pay for that. We just repaired it post closing, not a big deal.
Mhm.
But it was just like, oh my God. So now I am waiting for our clear to close.
And an
I am
appraisal.
waiting for the reappraisal. I am praying that this closes on Friday because, like I said, I leave early Monday morning for Vegas to go to the Rise conference.
Yeah.
And I don't want, like, I think that sounds selfish, but like, I want to be very focused at Rise. I want to not being pulled away by things. Like my clients all know there will be certain times of day I'm checking communications and stuff like that. Otherwise, my transaction coordinator's there. If you need a showing, like I'm going to have people set up as backups um to reach out to. I don't really have any super active buyers right now. That reminds
Yep.
me I need to write something down. Um
Every episode, Alyssa's taking
I know.
notes.
But hey,
Oh,
at
shoot,
least
I
I
have to
take
write a
the
note for
notes.
myself. No, for sure. Listen, I wish you could see the front of my where underneath your my I have 2 notebooks and a sticky pad
Right?
because sticky
Yeah,
pad's important, notes are just like,
I have my big desk calendar that has, like, all the places I need to be, and then I have my book planner, which is
Mhm,
kind of it has places I need to be with times, but also, like, has my running to-do list in it,
mhm.
and then there's sticky notes. I'm trying to get away from sticky notes because then I have to hunt them down. I don't
You
know
gotta
where they
lose
go.
that. Mhm. When I
Um
use sticky notes, I, like, stick it to my computer, like, right there, because that's something I need to do today, and I like,
Right.
when it's done, I take it down. That's
So,
anyways, we're
the sticky notes
squirreling
on my
again.
calendar are, like, my license numbers,
Uh-huh.
our firm license numbers, a quote that says from Dr. Dre, "Making $1,000,000 is easy, keeping $1,000,000 is not easy."
Mhm.
Um, a reminder for the 5-second rule for Mel Robbins. Oh, and then I used to not remember what my transaction fee was. I'm gonna take that down because I remember that now
You
because
remember it
that's
now?
well, it's the same
Awesome.
thing across the board no matter what.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, so yeah, so that's my current nightmare. Yeah, I'm You know what's funny? I just thought of another one, so I'm gonna add it to the list if we have time. But none of my most of my nightmares happened Q3. Q3 and Q4 are my nightmare quarters. Like Q1 and 2 weren't so bad.
See, I've
But
had one, like, little, like, "Ooh," each quarter. Nothing
yeah.
crazy except for that one time. But and this one's, like, it's not even that bad. This is one family that I worked with. We were relocating them, from Germany. I've told you about them. And
Yes.
we went and saw this house. We toured, God, dozens of houses. I think we saw 24 houses,
Ooh.
exactly.
Well, I guess if they're military moving from Germany, right?
Mhm. Yep,
Okay.
and
So
we
I
and
I
we
get it.
s
You're moving countries. You wanna
Mhm.
make sure you have the right house.
Yep, absolutely. And they were great. It wasn't like, "Hey, we saw this house, we wanna go see this one," right? Like, we were like, "Here's a list of 6, here's a list of 8," and we'd spent days out looking at houses. Okay,
Right.
we found this house. They love it. Call the agent. The agent's like, "Oh, also, there's an assumable loan." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. What's the information on the assumable loan?" It's a 2.5 interest rate, right? Holy bananas. Because right now
Holy.
they were at like 7.5, maybe 8, right? And I was like, wow, that's insane. He's like, well, the kicker is, he's like, it can only be used for a VA client. And I was like, shut up. I have a VA client, right? This
You
is gonna
don't say.
this is gonna be amazing. And so my clients already liked the house, and then they were just even more excited because holy crap, going from a 7.5 interest rate to a 2.5 interest rate. Like, I don't
Right.
even want to know what the monthly payment difference is on that. It would probably
Right.
hurt my feelings. Um, so I'm like, okay, we need the information because, of course, they have to get pre-approved through that specific land. Like, a
Right.
lot of things change when you're trying to assume a loan. Here's where it got, like, weird, because the agent was like, "Well, just send us the offer. Send us the offer, we'll sign it." And I'm like, "But that's not we can't give you an offer without knowing that they're gonna be
Right.
pre-approved and qualify to assume that loan, right?" And well, we can figure that out afterwards. And like, no, that doesn't make sense and I'm telling my clients, I'm like, listen, like, I understand a 2.5% sounds really, really good, but they don't like, they're not interested in saying, okay, well, we'll sign the offer terms, but we're not doing due diligence and earnest money until after we figure this out, right?
Right.
Because they were going to go to put a pretty good deposit down.
Yeah, at that interest rate, I would to make sure
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
locking this in.
exactly, exactly. And so I'm like, they're just like wanting to sign this offer, which is great, but not because
Right.
we need to have like our ducks in a row. They just kept and it the company that the seller had purchased the property through kept sending like, go to this person, this person. Well, the loan's been sold 3 times. So it's some like
Random processing company.
random processing center that you call, and they're just trying to get the loan number, which I don't have because that's not my information to have. Like, it was just a mess. We did submit an offer using our pre-approval, right? Because they were like,
Right.
listen, we still love the house. The 2.5% was going to be a bonus. We just go with our financing, right? If it works out, it works out. Well, then all of a sudden, we were in multiple offers, and listen, I know that happens, but I was like, "Huh, this is weird."
Right?
And they did not get that house. All of that. And then 3 weeks later, I get a call from the mortgage company saying that it was not an assumable loan. It was not assumable. So, the scary part of that story is had we gone under contract under the assumption of assuming this 2.5% interest rate to then 3 weeks
Right?
later find out that it was what?
Yeah.
What?
What the
We were at that point, we were already under contract with a different house that we ended up finding for them, which they loved. It worked out really well. I never even told them that they called back and was like, "Oh no, that wasn't an assumable loan because."
But you know what?
Hmm,
I hate this phrase in certain situations. People tell it to me a lot, and I just look at them like, "Mhm. Yeah.
is it everything
What was"
happens for a reason?
Yes!
Oh my god.
Can we make that the clip? Yes. I hate that. But in this situation,
Mhm.
hopefully they like the house that they bought just as much, if not more,
They like it
and it's
more. They like it more.
okay.
It's new construction, and honestly, it wasn't a scary story through this one, but we scheduled an inspection 3 times. My inspector went out there twice, and they
I
were you
remember
remember this?
this.
Yeah, because we were recording a podcast, remember?
Yes,
And they're like, "Oh,
yes.
first there was no utilities on after they said that they had the electricity and water on, all that stuff good to go. He got there, nothing was turned on. We rescheduled, he went back, and they had the painters there with everything covered. They're like, "Well, can you do the inspection, like, around the painters?" I'm like,
No.
"They've covered everything.
Right.
How are
You
you
can't see
supposed
shit.
to inspect anything when you've got drop cloths and plastic and" no.
No, that's not how that works.
So and that was one because, again, it was a VA, so you have to have the water tested, you have to have a pest inspection, like, all those things. So we ended up just getting the inspections back literally like 5 days before we were supposed to close, and luckily, the lender that it was Karen that I was working with, she's amazing, love Karen, was like, "Okay, we've
McAlpin?
got this." Yes, yep. "We've got this, we're pushing it through," like, they did the underwriting super fast, like, they had everything ready. We were waiting for the approved water sample and the approved pest termite inspection, but yeah, I was just like, "Are you kidding
Right?
me?"
Ugh.
But that ended well. That was good. But yeah,
Yeah.
the
That
not the
ended well.
assumable, non-assumable loan, I was like, "Yikes, that would have
Right?
sucked."
Right, yeah.
Mhm.
Thinking you're getting a 2.5, and then especially if, like, they were relying on that for budget reasons, like, if this house was more than they really
Mhm.
wanted to spend, but the 2.5 was gonna make it
And then
work.
out whatever money we put down because
I guess the only saving grace is you could say that the seller misrepresented
mhm, and try to get that money
and
back.
try to get all the money back.
Yep.
That's the only like, that would be,
That
"Hey,
would have been a
guys."
nightmare too.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
like,
logistical grossness.
I just went through all that logistical grossness.
Did you?
So, yeah, that's actually my next spooky
Oh, good,
story.
okay, you go with your next you take it away with your next story.
So my next spooky story, I think I've kind of referenced this maybe in recent episodes because it kind of just wrapped up, but I found out something the other day that I was like, "That son of a bitch."
Mhm.
So, I was in New York this summer and had another client or another agent take my client to look at a house. She's very well versed with VA loans. He's a VA Roxanne, a VA buyer. So I at a semi low price point for our area, which makes it a little harder, condition and stuff.
Mhm.
But I felt confident. I was like, she's got this. And got the inspection back and I was like, what the like I'm talking standing water and crawl space. Um live electrical wires sitting in that standing water, um,
Yikes.
mold on the floor on the joists, trying to
From
think
the
what else.
standing water in the crawl
Yes,
space, yeah.
and all the insulation was hanging, the ductwork was all hanging, like, it was disgusting. Um, no GFCI outlets, improper plumbing drainage in the bathrooms, like, I mean, the list to fix this was extensive. One of them was an easy fix, he just had to call the power company because the power to the house was connected incorrectly. So he
Mhm.
didn't have to pay for it. At first, he pushed back because it's an investor and said, "Nope." He said, "I will give you a credit," which was, hold on, I gotta tighten this because it keeps slipping. Um, a disgusting offer because he said, this is an older house. You can't expect it to be perfect." And when I looked at it, I realized only one page of the inspection emailed for some reason, not the entire inspection.
Mhm.
So I responded and said, I this is like, I don't remember how I phrased it, but pretty much with all due respect, this is
Right.
not just an old house. This is a
Mhm.
lack of maintenance, improper repairs, and something else. And these are major safety issues.
Yes.
Now, this house was listed at 230.
Mhm.
We were under contract at 217.
Mhm.
He had pushed for a longer runway on due diligence or on closing because he was doing a 1031 exchange and wanted to identify his next property.
Yep.
That's fine. My client didn't have a rush, like, wasn't selling or anything. He had the time. The seller, as this is all happening with the inspection, is like, "I'm getting on a flight to Paris. We'll fix everything except the drain pipe because even though it's wrong, it still works fine." And I said, "Fine, that cool." Because my client was like, "Yep." He's like, "I can fix that. My dad can come over." Because it was
Mhm.
literally like one of those stretchy, like, kinda like one of those old those plungers that has that's what it looked like,
Yuck.
that they had put in there as a drain pipe. Well, it
Yeah.
should be the loop. So, okay, we pay for reinspection. Thank God. The inspector's like, "The things he did touch, he did wrong. So stretchy pipe, now a straight pipe.
Oh
The
my
straight pipe that
god.
was there now has a double P-trap in it, not right.
Not right.
Major standing water, like running water through the crawl space of this house. Other things just blatantly not done, some of them done even more wrong." And so we pushed back. We said, "No, these aren't right." And he said, "Well, I just don't think your client's gonna be happy. I'll give him his due diligence and his earnest money back."
Hmm.
I said, "So the seller's asking us to terminate? Something's going on
Yeah,
here.
something's weird.
Something is happening." And I said, "Well, if that's the case, no." And I got all the numbers. We got appraisal fees. We got loan initiation fee. I got every penny my client had spent. Inspection, reinspection, chimney inspection, every penny. And I totaled it up. And it was like five $5,000, somewhere in that ballpark.
Mhm.
He said, "Okay, send the termination." I was like, "What the?" So we were
Yikes.
scheduled, this was a week or 2 week before closing, because my client was like, "I'll leave my earnest money on that." He's like, "This house is just not." I said, "No, like, I don't feel comfortable. If he's not going to fix things, then no, you're not
Mhm.
it's a death trap."
Yeah.
I looked in MLS 2 days ago.
Still under or still active?
Closed October 4th.
Closed. He got a
We
different
were
offer?
scheduled to close October 1st.
Oh.
It closed October 4th at 10,000 over asking.
Oh, so he didn't care about giving you your money back because he was still
Yeah,
getting 20
because
grand.
I bet he had that other offer lined up.
Uh-huh.
No inspections. I feel
Yeah.
bad for whoever bought that freaking house. I bet he didn't
Yeah.
disclose anything,
Probably
and
not.
it's closed.
That's terrible.
But it was scary at the time because my client, I mean, single dad, works as a sheriff's deputy, isn't making huge amounts of money.
Mm.
So this 5 grand out of pocket, that's a lot of
That's a
money.
big amount, yeah.
And he was like, "If this doesn't, like, I'm gonna have to wait now to buy something." And he's living with his parents, and I was like, "I got you. You know how you go and you protect people all day? Sit down.
Let
My
me do
turn.
my job.
Let me do my job." And my TC Emily was just like, cause I copy her on all my correspondence.
Mhm.
She was I got a text message on the side. Damn. She was like, "That was, like, the politest 'you're not gonna fuck with my client' I've ever seen." And I was like, "Listen, if there's one thing I learned from being a paralegal, it
Mhm.
is how to very politely, in business
Tell
language,
someone.
tell someone where they can stick it and
Uh-huh.
what's going to happen."
That's yes.
And but
Uh-huh.
it was scary at the time because I was like, "Oh my god, he's either going to have to move into this death trap
Mhm.
because he can't lose 5 grand, and he's
Right.
gonna have to dump money into fixing what this seller didn't fix,
Yep.
or he's gonna lose 5 grand."
Mhm.
And thankfully, the other thing that helped was I emailed the attorney and I was like, "Hey, here's where we are. Will you just confirm that we should be asking." And she was like and she wrote an email to the seller and was like, "Per section blah, 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 you are in breach of contract," but and he was like, "Okay, fine." And I was just like
Wow. That's
but
awesome though,
yeah,
you know what I
I
mean?
kinda wanna reach out to the new buyer and be like, "So did you know? Because you might wanna know
You should
this is
just
what's
send,
going on with
like,
ours.
a
Here's
company
the here's
card
the
for, like,
inspection
the
port,"
crawl space specialists and
or
just,
just
like, staple the inspection
the
sheet to
inspection
it.
port with all the, like, identifying information blacked out,
Mhm,
just mail it to them from, like, 3 towns over.
mhm.
Be like, "Just so you know, this is what" the
Yeah,
reinspection
and
report,
be like,
I
"The
with
may the odds be ever in your favor."
right? Like, I was
Yikes.
just like, "This house is gonna f" like, literally, there was water pouring from the windows into the walls.
Listen, when I first started showing houses, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Oh my gosh, this is crazy." And now, like, I mean, 5 years in, and I'm still like, nothing surprises me anymore
Right?
because I've seen some weird stuff on an inspection report and things like that. You're like, "How do you not know that?"
So here's the other thing, do you also walk around your house now going, "Is my floor tilting? Like, do I have a
Squishy.
roll or am I just like it's a it's my eyes are playing tricks on me and I'm just
Mhm.
so paranoid about that now?" Because I swear to God, I've had my foundation checked twice because 'cause I'm like, "I swear my floors are rolling."
It's
And they're
crooked.
like, "There's nothing wrong." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks."
They're moving, I
I
swear.
seriously have had 2 foundation companies come out
Mhm.
and look at my house because 'cause I'm like,
It's
"My
fine.
house is sinking." And they're like, "No, it's
No,
not."
it's not.
I'm like, "Okay."
Relax. That's
That's that's probably the scariest part of being a realtor, is now you walk around your house going, "Oh, shit."
oh my
Like,
gosh.
that's not gonna be good when I sell this place. Like, you just look at it, like, not as, like, home maintenance, now you look at it as, like, "Gotta do it because it's gonna come up
Yeah.
on that
Yeah,
inspection report."
exactly. It's gonna be on an inspection report. That's hilarious. When we're doing like our flip houses, and Travis is a perfectionist to the like umpth degree, right? It's almost annoying. Like, it's fine. Like, leave it alone. He'll take something apart 14 times and put it back together so it's exactly correct. And the guy that works for him is always like, "That's gonna show up in an inspection report," and it's just hilarious. I just because Travis will
Right?
be like, and redo it. It's funny. Anyways, all right, what was my other one? I have one more like not so scary one, and then the
Okay.
scary one. Do you have another one?
I have one more not so scary one, and
Okay,
then you're terrifying.
awesome. All right,
Yours
this
is
is
not scary. Yours is bloody terrifying.
it.
Terrifying. I used yours
Literally.
I have a new agent who just joined, and I used your scary story as an example the other day and was like,
Nice.
"You if you find this, you turn around, you walk out, you call the cops."
Okay,
She was like,
Travis.
"Okay." I was like, "No,
Yes, okay, I
Brenna. Brenna."
understand. No, I understand. I knew you were gonna Okay, all right, we can't okay, my other
Okay,
not
not
so
scary
scary story,
stories, come
okay.
on.
So, I closed this transaction this year. It's over and the transaction's over. I get one of those emails from the real estate commission that has like the address in it and all that stuff. And I'm like, shut up. Seriously? Who filed a complaint? Like nothing happened.
Right?
And it was an investigation into the buyer's agent that brought the client to my listing. But so I'm like
What?
reading through this and I'm like, I'm so confused. Why are you reaching out to me? And it turns out that that agent was do you remember when I was telling you that like after closing they thought that they had to wait for their agent to get back 3
From
weeks
Italy,
later to
yes, for the
get the
keys.
keys. This is the same one.
Oh, I didn't know
Um
they filed a complaint again. They should. From what you've told me about this transaction,
uh-huh.
they absolutely should have filed
Uh-huh.
a
Well,
complaint
listen,
against this agent.
it gets worse. It gets
How
worse
does it get
because the complaint that was filed was about her giving lockbox information and access information to different family members and people that are not licensed to show clients
Oh.
houses.
Okay, so can we hold on. Can we back up? I think we need to give a little few more details about this
Okay.
to so if I remember correctly, this agent literally ghosted her clients.
Uh-huh.
Like, she got them under contract, you didn't hear from her the entire time.
Mm-mm, twice
Right, like,
throughout the
nothing.
whole contract.
She didn't come to closing.
Nope.
You messaged her something, like, right before closing, and she was like,
Mhm.
"I'm out of the country," whatever, like, "I'm in
Mhm.
Italy." Her clients, after closing, a couple hours later, called you
Mhm.
and asked, "How do we
Emailed
get it?"
me, so I got to send that to the real estate commission too, because they
Because
emailed me because they thought that they were going to have to wait for their agent to come back to
right.
get the keys to the
And she
house
was
that
not
they
gone
now
for a
own.
short amount of time. She
No,
was
it's 3
gone for,
weeks.
like
Mhm.
yeah, a 6
Mhm.
so she had made no arrangements to get them access to the house they just bought that they
Mm-mm.
were planning on living in.
Mhm. Yeah, and we closed, like, it was the day or 2 before Thanksgiving. They wanted to be in the house
Yeah,
to
as they
celebrate
should,
Thanksgiving.
as
Correct.
they should.
Correct. Yeah, so I got an email and they were like, "There's no furniture here. There's no like the washer and dryer aren't here." Like I'm like,
Why did they
"I'm
expect furniture?
confused." Yeah, I have no idea. I'm like, "You should probably reach out to your agent because this what?" There
They so
wasn't even
they thought they were
listen,
getting
it
it furnished.
I'm not apparently. But so they filed this complaint. The real estate commission asked me for all of the correspondence that I had with this agent, which was very, very little.
Right. Nothing.
And they asked me for all of the communication that I had with her client. So I sent that. And they asked me, and I was so nervous about this because I was like, oh my gosh, they wanted my seller's information because she has a Ring doorbell. And they wanted all of
Mm.
the showing time information for when that agent scheduled showings to see my listing.
I wanna know
So
if
they could see
do you use super
that it
boxes?
wasn't. Only in, like, Charlotte, because here, a
Right.
lot of people
People
don't
don't
have
use
them. Mhm.
so I'm wondering what she does. What area was she just out of your area?
Oh, no, this was in Charlotte.
So how I wonder how she's doing that in Charlotte unless she's putting the app
Yeah.
on someone else's phone and
I didn't
giving
know you
them
could have it on multiple devices.
I didn't think you could either.
Anyways, it was bananas. So
Ooh-wee.
they ended up getting in contact with my seller who'd moved by that time, and I haven't heard from her because I was like, "Hey, did you send that? Did you look?
Right.
Was it?" Like, cause I mean, we have no way to we've never met her before. None of her like, she didn't have a picture on her email signature, you know what I mean? Like, no way to know, and it
That's
who
crazy.
that was showing that, but it has, like, multiple instances. They had, like, 8 different houses listed in this complaint. Yeah. Mhm.
I wonder how people figured it out.
Unless
Like
that, like, buyer was so upset, like, after trying to re and I'm
right, like
just
if something
speculating, and been
happened
like
and then they started researching
yeah,
and
and then they're like, "Yeah, we saw different houses with different people every time, but she
right.
wrote the
Which
offer."
is not uncommon. I know some top agents who use showing agents. They don't do
Yeah, or
showings.
they have a team,
But
like, those
right.
kinds of things.
But
Right.
those showing agents and those team members are licensed.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
it's one thing, like, my mentee the other day was asking,
Unlicensed
like,
family members. Are
"Can I
you
have my
kidding me?
husband come with me to a showing?" Like, if it's a new person I don't know. I said, "Absolutely."
Oh, yes,
And she
please
said, "Does he
do.
have to sit in the car?" I said, "No, he can come in the house with you,
Mhm,
but he can't do a showing for you."
mhm.
Like, there's a difference. If you do an open house and you don't have a lender or someone to do it with you, yeah, I know another agent, her mom comes. If her mom's in town, who's gonna assault a little old lady sit like now, don't get me wrong,
Well,
someone
right,
might,
right.
but the fact that there's someone with you adds that layer of security. But I would never just be like, "Hey, mom, you wanna go run an open
Will
house for
you
me this
run over
weekend? Because 'Cause
there
I'm
and let
busy."
this lady in? Yeah, yeah, that was the other one. It
That's
really it
terrifying
didn't really
because,
have
like
anything to do because we had closed at that point, and strangely enough, that agent was the one that, like, showed oh, I don't know.
I want do so do we know how that turned out? Like, did
I
she
got an
get
email not too long ago, actually, that said, "Thank you for all of the information that I had submitted," and that it was found to be, like, whatever, helpful, and they were pursuing action with the agent. How that ended up, I haven't seen it in the bulletin, so, you know?
I
But yeah,
mean
that I was like, "You've got to be kidding me.
yeah,
Stop."
I just made a note for an episode. I'm gonna start reading the bulletins and pulling the crazy stories, and we're gonna do an
That's
episode
whole
of the crazy shit
oh
and, like,
my
talk about why
gosh,
you
why
shouldn't
haven't
do
we
this.
done that?
No. See, my notes are helpful,
Yes, they
Brenna.
are. They're helpful.
Oh,
Alright.
okay. So my next crazy story is actually the deal we did together.
Oh god, do we have
Ugh.
to talk about this one? Let's just skip it altogether. Can we skip it? I don't wanna relive this one. Are you serious?
Did I tell you I drove by the other day and that your client hasn't
They still
touched the
haven't done
house?
anything with
They
it.
haven't done
Yeah.
any, and there was a big violation for not having the lawn mowed because the lawn was as high as the fence. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So,
Oh my
I got
god.
this client. It was a referral. I had to pay a referral fee out of this one.
Mm.
She
Out of
had
what? There wasn't anything to
exactly,
pay.
and this was like this was
This transaction literally only solidified the fact for me that, like, the little ones are always the worst.
the little and so, yeah, little ones are I'm
And
currently dealing with a little
that's
one,
no hate,
but
but
no,
listen,
but there's
sometimes working with these
always
investors and they're just, like,
yes,
the
and that's what I was gonna say,
worst.
because 'cause they're either people who are investors
Mhm,
or and not judging anyone, they're people who don't have any money, who
mhm.
are scraping literally every penny
Well, and
to
it's
buy
hard
their
in
first
that
house, which is
instance,
I
it's
can't judge. I was that person. When I bought
right, and
my
it's
house,
hard for
I was
those
like,
people because there's so many restrictions now for lending and, like, what can be financed and what can't. It's just a frustrating process, you know?
right,
So,
exactly.
that's where those ones are just they're just hard. They're hard from the like, if it's a first-time buyer kind of thing because finding something that works is just oh my gosh, she purred so loud.
That's that's her
Or
constant.
you
That's
fight with these
24/7.
investors that just want everything for nothing, and it's just a pain in the butt. Okay, carry
Right.
on.
Or you have investors, if the investor is selling, which is this is the situation I was in,
Mhm,
who unfortunately for her, she overpaid when she bought it because she
mhm.
bought it in the prime,
Yep.
didn't appear to have put any money into it.
Mhm.
She claims that the property management company she was leasing it through wasn't doing anything to get it rented,
Okay.
which I will confirm. I could not find any listings since the last tenant moved out. I was like, "I don't see where they've marketed this."
Mhm.
After looking at the house, I'm
I
assuming they
understand.
refused to, and she wasn't telling me that part,
Mhm.
because there's no way that house was safe to live in.
Mhm.
No way. Um, we're talking on what was it, 900 square foot house, $30,000 in,
Foundation
just
repairs.
foundation repairs.
Mhm.
The laundry room, like, I took an investor over there, she stepped in it, she's like, "I'm not no." She's like, "You're gonna fall through." And I was like, "Yep." But I told you what this was,
Right.
when we looked at this. Um, and she wanted top dollar. Told her it wasn't I said, it's not worth that. We can't." Um, we had 2 offers. We fell out of contract once because after inspections, they said or no, yeah, actually, we had more than that. The one offer, it was verbal.
Mhm.
They said they wanted to look at it one more time before they signed the paperwork,
Yep.
and went over and went, "No, we're not touching it." One of them fell through. I can't remember why the one fell through, and then we had your offer. And as you and I are negotiating this offer, I went over to check something and realized the heat had quit working.
Mhm.
And I brought over a battery to check the thermostat, that wasn't it. I said, "You've gotta get someone out here." "No."
Mhm.
She's like, "They can take it as is." I said, "But here's the thing, I have to disclose this now. I'm
Yeah.
aware of this. I cannot not tell them."
Yep.
And it thankfully wasn't a deal breaker for your investor. I can only if they haven't fixed that,
Oh, it's not gonna be fixable at this point. They're gonna have to, like,
no, they're gonna have to
bulldoze it and start over.
yeah, like, because at this point, if especially with that deep freeze that we had after that, um, mm, but, like, she wouldn't put any money into it,
Mhm.
and then you guys got your inspection back, came back with a lesser you said, "Hey, we're either gonna walk or it's gotta come down to this."
Yep.
I totally understood, and I called her and I was like, "So here's where we are. This is the second time this has happened. I know you want more for this house, but every offer we have received has
Has
been
been
at
at this
exactly
price.
this amount.
Mhm.
So this is the market telling us, like, you need to do this." Now, mind you, this is also the listing where, like, agents were leaving the front door unlocked. I had an agent just show up, and I happened to drive by when she was there, and I was like, "There's no showing scheduled for
Mhm.
right now. Why is someone in this house?" So I had to report her to NAR, or not NAR, but the licensing board, because I was like, "Mm-mm, no, you don't just I don't care if it's vacant. you
You
at
don't get to
least
do that.
yeah, you at least schedule when you arrive just so people know who's in the house.
Mhm.
Um, but, like, this was just and this was a deal, like, I can't remember when I took the listing, but then what was it that happened? Like, I took the listing in the late summer, early fall. You and I closed, like, the 1st week of January, and what was it that delayed it? There was something. Oh, your your client's attorney who had we had
Oh my
this was
god,
like a
the
2-month
attorney!
closing, because I don't
Yes.
remember why. We had
Yeah,
a long your client asked for a longer runway
yeah,
to
they
get it
did a
closed.
ri because we had, like, the holidays. Because when we went under
Yeah,
contract, it was, like, the holidays and Christmas and all that stuff, and
right,
they wanted to use a 24-hour attorney company,
right.
and
Which
then
and the 24-hour they
the
said,
day
"Oh, we"
before closing, they'd never even done the title work.
right, and mind you, they had had it for 2 months at that point
Mhm.
because you're right, the way it lined up, we all knew, "Hey, with the holidays, let's build in extra time to make sure, but we're still gonna get this closed before the 1st of the year."
Yes. And the
They
worst
call
part about that was, I know everyone's like, "Well, you obviously didn't ask if you waited till the day before closing to find out ti" No, we did.
we did. Oh, yeah,
And
we kept being told, "Everything's fine, everything's
everything's
good."
good, we're ready to close.
Yeah,
No, you're not.
and then literally they were like, "Hey, guys, we're gonna have to push this closing to
Do you
next."
see this? I'm upset. I don't
Sorry, but they wanted to push it, like, 2 weeks.
Mhm.
They're like, "We need time to" and we were like,
Heck
"Time? You've had 2
no.
months. What have you
Heck
been
no.
doing?"
Yeah.
I guarantee you, having worked in multiple law firms now this never happened in the real estate firm, I will say that, because we knew time is of the essence, things have to
Mhm.
I can guarantee that file got put on a paralegal's desk and forgotten. It got
Mhm.
stuffed somewhere and someone all of a sudden went, "Oh, shit."
Someone got fired over that.
I maybe not fired, but definitely there was an "Oh, shit" moment in that office.
Mhm.
But so thankfully, your client saved this and was like, "We got another attorney, send it there." And it only I think it delayed us a couple
It was
days.
literally, like, 24 hours. We had
Yeah.
title work back, and we closed, like, the next day.
Yes, and, like, my client lived out of state because I was like, "Guys, you're gonna have to" and they're like, "That's fine, she can sign it, it's
We
not a"
got
like,
it.
they yeah, it
They
was
were
beautiful.
amazing. The
They
way that they
yes,
picked up those pieces and had it turned around and done in no
yes,
time flat, I was like, those are
and
the people we like to have in our back
I have
pocket.
yes, and I have received offers that had that first attorney listed, and I've said, "No,
Nope,
you guys need to
never
change
again.
attorneys, we won't deal with them." And people are like,
Blacklisted.
"Why?" And I said,
I don't think
"This
we're
is
allowed to
why."
say that.
I don't think you're not allowed to use that word. But no well, you can
Because
you yeah, you can say, "Hey, here's why." Like,
we've had a
we
bad experience.
yeah,
You can say
um,
that.
right. But yeah, that was
That was
and
a
that was
nightmare.
what was supposed to be the last deal of the year
Yeah,
turned into
ended
the
up being
first
the
deal of the year.
first.
And I
Great,
was like
let's start this one out
because
so
oh, and
nicely.
that was the other scary part. When I called her to tell her that your client was reducing their offer and it was a
Mhm,
significant reduction, as it should
mhm,
have been. Now, mind you, my client lost 20, 30 grand off her initial purchase price to close this, to get out
mhm.
of it. Um, and that's for, like, what she purchased it at. So, when I called her to tell her, her response was, "I don't know, I think I want to put it back on the market and raise the price. Let me think about this." And that's when I had to have the very stern, "No, if that's what you want to do, I'm
We're
going to
done.
terminate my services,
Mhm,
and here's why." Like, we've received multiple offers, same price point, same thing has happened. Unless you and I listed out all unless you're going to do the $20,000, $30,000 in foundation work,
mhm.
fix all these other things, and a new HVAC system, which at that point, you might as well just remodel this whole house and put it back
Right.
up as a rental. No. I said, "You need to think about it," because I said, "Do you" and this is how I think the thing that convinced her, because I had laid out all the data and the data wasn't working.
Yeah.
I pulled the emotional strings and I said, "Do you really wanna go into a new year with this still hanging on? Or do you wanna start 2024 with a clean slate and you don't have to worry about this property anymore?"
We didn't quite start 2024 that way, but I'm
No,
glad
but,
she ended up
I
doing
mean,
that.
at least she knew it was under contract and we were moving to the closing table.
Mhm.
Um, but she was like, "I have to sleep on it," and she called me 5 minutes later and said, "I'll accept it, let's do it." She was like, "You're right, I don't wanna start the new year." with this still on my plate. And I was like, okay,
Great.
cool, perfect.
Great. Now
But
it's on
that
somebody
was,
else's plate almost a year later and they haven't done
they
anything with
haven't touched
it. It's
it.
fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
All
I
right, are
hope
we
they
ready for
do.
the
There's a lot happening in that. There's a lot of transition happening in that
which makes
neighborhood.
me wonder if they're just literally going to put in a new house there.
I wouldn't be surprised. You know what? I drove by it a couple days ago. I haven't driven by it probably at least a month.
Mhm.
I have time. I'm gonna swing over there today and I'll take a picture and see
Just
what's going on.
take a peek.
Yeah.
Are we ready for the grand finale?
Yes! Ooh, y'all, if you have, like,
Children
um
in the car.
yes, children in the car,
This is
or if
this is
you have
rated
a weak
X.
stomach,
Yeah.
or if trigger warning, we're putting a trigger warning in this,
Uh-huh.
if home invaders or murder is something that sends you into an emotional tailspin and is going to put you in danger, stop listening now.
Yeah, we love you. We'll see you
Yeah,
next week.
mark this episode as played, stop listening, and we'll talk to you next week. And I don't remember what next week's episode is, but it's not gonna be scary like this.
No, not at
So,
all. We're back to business next week. Okay, so once upon a time in July of this year,
once upon a time.
I picked up these new buyer clients. They were actually the kids from my old barn manager, his son, his wife, and his twin boys. And their twin boys, excuse me.
Okay, I was like, "Wait, all 3 of his children are buying a house
Yeah,
together?"
no, his son, his son's wife, and their twin boys. And luckily, the boys weren't with us that day. This was the second
Oh,
time I
thank
had met
God.
them. We were out touring houses. We had 4 or 5 houses we were looking at in Charlotte, all in a really small area. There was specific elementary school, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So saw the first house, nothing big, no big deal. Walking around, and it's not that far away. It was like in the same neighborhood, which after the fact immediately crossed off the first house that we had looked at because they're like, yeah, we're just not even gonna live close to that area. So, and my husband would tell you that I messed up from the moment I opened the door at this house.
Your friend Alyssa would also
Well, so
tell
listen,
you
here's
that
the
you
thing.
messed up.
I had my concealed carry with me. Okay. So we walk into this house and it's hot in there. I mean, it's July. It's hot in there. And the HVAC is running, but it's hot. And I walk through, it's down the hallway, and it opens up into like the living room, which kind of the kitchen's tucked around behind the stairs kind of thing. I walk into the living room and there is broken glass all over the floor. There is a random pair of like construction gloves. There's a dog collar. There's like just random a screwdriver on the carpet. And I'm like, "Huh, this house got broken into recently." It's a vacant house. Nobody lives there. And the people are like, "Oh yeah, that's crazy." So I'm trying to get in touch with the agent while we're walking through. Go into the kitchen, and whoever broke into this house, like there's an open can of like raviolis. There is a styrofoam plate, like they used the microwave, had themselves a nice little meal in this kitchen, did not clean up their mess. There was one shoe over by the refrigerator. And I'm like, this is so weird, right? And I have my gun. And so he's like, "Yeah, I just don't think that this is the house for us." And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "But we're here. So, like, we'll look at the upstairs," because they wanted to see this kind of floor plan too, because we had been looking at single level. So we go upstairs. We're walking up the stairs, and the wife's in front of me. And she goes, "Oh, it smells musty up here." And I, like, 2 seconds later, 2 steps up, like, the smell hits me. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's something dead." That is the smell of rotting flesh. That is not musty, that is not hot, that is death. That's what that smells like. So, we go up there looking in the bedrooms, and, mind you, I'm, like, on edge at this point because I'm like, "This," like, preface this wait, go back. I got COVID, right, in 2020, and completely lost my sense of smell, completely. My sense of smell is still messed up,
Same.
right?
Smell and taste.
I could smell something that I loved before and it smells like eggs. Like it smell like so I didn't want to say, "Hey, something's dead up here," because I can't trust what my nose does now.
Understandable.
But that's what I'm thinking. So my heart is, like, pumping, and I'm going through, and I go into the primary bedroom. Everything's great, and I'm like, "No, it's in here, like, it's in here." I go into the primary bathroom, and there's a clearish, like that milky clear shower curtain kind of scenario, all, like, stuffed down in the tub, and I'm, like, panicking just telling this story. I, like, look in the tub, and there is definitely blood in the tub, and I'm like, "Brenna, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it." What did I do? Sure as shit did pick up that fucking shower curtain. There was a dog in that tub. There was a dog in the tub. And
Not just a
I
dog, a murdered
a
dog.
dead dog.
This wasn't like a
Somebody
their
killed
dog
that dog.
died and they put it in the tub. This
Mm-mm,
was
no,
it had
somebody
been
killed that
slaughtered.
dog.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. So, and they're right behind me, and she's a vet tech, and he's an engineer of some sort, and she's like, "Oh my god, somebody killed a dog," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, this is where we
We're
wrap it
gonna
up,
wrap this
folks."
one up.
So I'm on the phone. The agent finally called me back, and he's like, "The lockbox sticks sometimes," and I was like, "No, no, 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 no. Somebody broke into your house." He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah. I know. We knew about that. They're having somebody come out. We've got to replace the window. No big deal." And I was like, "I don't give a flying fuck
F.
about the window that's broken. Did you know about the dead dog in the bathtub?" And he said, "What? No, that's not, I was just there. That's not what, there's no dog there." And I was like, "Did you go upstairs? Because in the primary bathroom right now, there is a dead dog in that tub. I would have somebody come check that out also."
Yeah.
And I said, "The cops are on their way," because my clients had called the
As
cops
they
while I
should.
was, yeah.
As they
So
should.
I'm like, I would probably come fix this
It's
mess.
it's that so thinking about this, so I run 2 numbers on 1 phone, right? It's situations like that where I'm like, "I need 2 phones."
Mm,
Because, like,
because you can do two things at
I
once.
can call the cops and take a video or what like, if you're in a crappy, dangerous situation.
Mhm.
But yeah, like,
Yeah.
that poor dog.
So Travis was like, "You never should have gone upstairs seeing what you saw downstairs." And I
Mm-mm.
was like,
I as
"Listen,
soon
like,
as I
after the
saw
fact,
I would've been,
after
"Mm-mm, we're out. We
after the
are
fact, like,
out."
I understand. I didn't feel like that concerned about it because I was carrying, you know what I mean? And they also, we had the goods, like, that was the point. I don't think that any of us were like, "Oh, like, this homeless person is gonna be really scary," kind of thing. But, yeah, 10 out of 10 would not do that again.
Brenna,
Listen, I just told you I wouldn't do it again.
I
I'm
know, but
trying.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around your thought process and your client's thought process at the time that, "Oh, hey, there's evidence of a break-in.
Yeah.
Evidence not only of a break-in, but that someone has stayed here
Uh-huh,
at to some level.
uh-huh.
Let's
Let's
keep
keep looking.
looking." You literally
Okay, so the
literally
scariest
the
part of this
timeline
story
of
is
those Halloween movies where girls get murdered. No, that's
Mhm,
okay, let's keep going.
mhm.
Let's
That's
ignore all the red flags.
yeah. Yeah,
I'm
so the
so thankful
scariest
you
part
didn't
of
get
that
murdered.
story is the part where Brenna kept looking. That's
Yeah,
that's
where
the
Brenna didn't
moral of the
say,
story
"Hey."
is, do not do this at home.
No.
Okay, the end.
So,
That's it.
that's the end. And there's no way you top that one. Like,
Nope.
that's the
Honestly, I hope next year's is boring because I don't wanna see that
right?
again.
Yeah,
That was really
I
sad.
hope we never top that story.
That was really sad.
I hope next year we're like, "Hey, guys, we only have boring my transaction was scary, here's why
Easy,
stories."
breezy, beautiful cover girl
Yes.
stories.
Speaking of
That's what we
which,
want.
if you're listening to this, in the next couple episodes, we are going to cover realtor safety. We have been meaning to do it because we know September was realtor safety month.
Mhm,
At the same time, a lot of shit went down in the Carolinas in September, so
mhm.
we
A lot of stuff
pumped
happened.
it for more what we felt were episodes that needed to be recorded and posted right away in a timely manner to
Mhm,
discuss current events. So we are don't know where it is on our schedule. I think it's next week. Next week we're not recording.
right.
But
We'll get it
it's
to you
yeah, we will
anyways.
get it to you guys. A realtor safety episode is coming out. If you need something before we get ours out, I know there are some out there. Look them
Mhm.
up. There's definitely great resources if we don't get one out before you need it. So that's it. That's our scary stories. Happy Halloween. Happy 1 year anniversary to us. I
And
can't believe
we
I
will.
I can believe we did it.
Yes.
I'm very proud of us. I'm very thankful that you decided to do this with me and stuck with me. Um,
It's been so fun.
it has been. And I'm very excited to see where season 2 takes us.
Yes. So we will see you guys next week.
See you next week.
We just finished another episode of Contracts and Chaos, but believe me, the chaos does not stop here. So check out the show notes for our email address and where to follow us on socials, and we will see you next week.